Hey, y'all. I've been poking at the MCP server a little bit more today, and we've finally gotten to a point where we're able to expose some of our new autofix behavior. If you're not familiar with this, we have the same. It's called Seer. It's branding. It's called Autofix in the past. Don't worry about it, but just know it's this little thing in the sidebar that you might have seen. If you haven't seen it, there might be a way to opt into the beta, whatever. It's free right now. Give it a shot. What it does is it root causes an issue, and then it can also try to generate a suggested patch for the issue. Fast forward, the fundamental goal with this is could we automatically fix every trivial issue? In the sense of could we automatically generate a PR whenever we see an issue that has a trivial fix that is also a real bug? And so there's a couple phases of validation we're working on there, and we're not there yet, but that's kind of how we think about it of the value add. It's not replacing engineers or anything like that. It's just like there are some things that are really easy to fix that it's pretty easy to generate. So, but what it does is it's able to take a lot of information, and so you'll see here it's able to take information from trace connected data. So in some requests, there's multiple errors. There might be other things going on in the trace. There might be session replays. We have basically built a set of I guess content retrieval mechanisms that summarize some of these things and then do a pretty effective job of root causing. I'm not going to lie. Like I've tested this on some like effectively blank JavaScript errors, which I had no idea what they were, and it came up with an actual bug out of them that was a real bug, and I was skeptical until I experienced the problem myself. Anyways, this one's pretty straightforward, but it's given all this. The flow generally is like it builds this root cause analysis, and then you can have it generate a patch, right? I'm not going to do the patch generation for the sake of this demo, but um, just so you understand the error we're testing it on, let's go down to the trace. It's this TRPC endpoint where we are passing in a non-numeric value, and I'll just show you this in production. So the way you trigger this is it's a real thing, right? Like I put in a non-integer for the bottle ID here, and it triggers an error. Is it an important error? No, doesn't really matter. It's in Sentry. It bothers me that it's in Sentry. I should probably handle it gracefully. So here we are. But you'll note that that error in the UI was not this error. That was a different error. That error is still in here because it's trace connected. So we have all those errors in this trace. We know they're related. And that's how it's actually able to do a really effective job at sort of a simplistic level. Okay, so in an ideal world, Sentry is able to solve these for us. It's not good enough yet to be able to do that. And what I mean by that is we actually don't run enough sort of traditional code generation techniques to be able to make sure the patch is really good that we're generating. A simplistic version of that is like we can't run your tests against it to make sure to actually, solve the problem. Who can? Well, Cursor and the IDE you're using almost certainly can, and this is where MCP is beautiful. So I've already got this configured inside of Sentry, or inside of Cursor rather. I've got the Sentry MCP in here. If you don't know about this, mcp.sentry.dev. Okay, go there, figure it out. This is full prototype. MCP is a great idea. It's still very rough on implementations. And so your results will vary. Be explicit with your prompts. In my opinion, that's the only way it's going to work with the way it's modeled today. And just note that the hack, the MCP remote hack that solves OAuth for us today, sometimes it's a little wonky as well. Sometimes Cursor is a little wonky. So just know that it's a little bit buggy, but this is the glimpse of where things are going. Okay, so let's we don't need this context. Let's say we've got this issue. I've copied it to my clipboard. We're going to try to solve it using Cursor. So my boss is being really annoying and wants me to do some work. There's a bug impeded that I need to fix, but I don't understand how. Can you use Sentry's Autofix? And this is sort of us just like telling it, like, please don't mess up the tool calls because it will do some wacky stuff because of the context of what Cursor is, what you're trying to do. And so if you're not pretty explicit on some things, it will just do things you don't want it to do. So we're trying to help it out. Can you use Sentry's Autofix feature to help root cause the problem and propose a solution? Now, here's where the limitations of this come in today. So what Autofix is, or what Seer is in Sentry, is it is a traditional agent. We've got our own tool calls, all these other things going on, which means it has streaming output. Unfortunately, right now, MCPs cannot stream output. So this concept of tools as agents, which is what I believe to be a sort of near-term future for all this, isn't really doable. And what I mean by that is we can't stream the output of this Autofix run, which we would do in our UI. So try it in the UI, you'll see what I mean by streaming. So instead, we have to pull an endpoint and like check for updates over and over. And I have kind of given the MCP those clues to get back to the LLM so it knows it actually has to pull over and over. But in practice, what happens is after like a handful of attempts, like 3, 4, 5, it kind of gives up. And then it will just try to implement its own fix. And if you're lucky, it will get enough information because it'll actually call a second Sentry call, probably like the issue details call to get the stack trace and stuff. It might be able to help you there, but the quality is much, much lower, and that only works on surface level problems. So because that polling issue is a thing right now, which will get solved at some point, I'm confident, we're going to cheat a little bit. I've clicked the run button in Sentry's UI, so the results are already ready for me. So that's the cheat. I've already kicked off the autofix run. So start with checking its status. There's our cheat. And then give it the URL. And we should be good to go. And so, we're about to find out. Okay, it's calling get autofix status. That's what we want it to do, right? That's the right tool. That gives us a ton of information about the sort of the root cause analysis, what we think the solution is, things like that. And then again, Cursor is able to use its context and everything it's built within its agent in combination with that to do a much better job than either of us could do individually. And that's what's really interesting about this. Whether prompting it like this is really the best user experience or having like some kind of button that deep links into Cursor, we'll see. I think a lot of these user experiences will evolve, but you'll see. So it's actually implemented like this is a legitimate fix for it. Like if you want to avoid that error, you need to validate it, and you need to return something like a 404 rather than just trying to coerce a string to a number, right? And then you would go through, and this is what it's doing. It updated the one page with it, right? And now it's going to look for more pages. And again, because it's this normal workflow that you have here, you can actually do this versus if you tell Sentry to create a PR, it's going to do something, but it might not be enough. It might not be everything. And then you'd have to pull down that pull request and change it. And it's just like it gets you out of the flow state, right? This is sort of the experience I want. And it works surprisingly well. So like, I think we've got a little bit of the agents are not that smart yet, where it's duplicating code that doesn't need duplicated, but that's a separate problem. But anyway, generally speaking, this will finish. It would kind of do what you want. Obviously, the code gen's still going to be code gen. It'll maybe work, maybe won't work, but at least it's in the context of where you'd want it to be. And so give Autofix a try out. Like I said, it's free right now in beta. We are going to charge for this, but we're trying to be reasonable on pricing. It is expensive for us to run, and unlike a lot of the industry, we are here to actually have a long-term business, and so it's not the cheapest thing. But if it works, if it can automatically solve a bunch of bugs, and especially if bugs are really cryptic, I'll pay a few bucks for that. Like, it actually works out at the end of the day towards the price of my time or an engineer's time. And so give it a shot. It's free in beta. It'll be out of beta at some point, hopefully soon. And the fun saying in recent history with LLMs is the feature right now is definitely the worst it's ever going to be. You'll only see it get better as we layer in more information, as we improve the code generation techniques and things like that. And so, cool. If you have feedback, let us know. We're in all the usual places. But otherwise, happy bug hunting.